Welcome back to Rewind, a closer look, where we dive headfirst into overlooked action movies, PM entertainment chaos, and the kind of films that absolutely lived on late-night cable in the 90s. Today we're talking about 1997's Executive Target. This is peak PM entertainment, big stunts, reckless car chases, government conspiracies, and a plot that escalates way faster than it probably should. It's the kind of movie that promises explosions, delivers explosions, and then somehow finds time to throw in a supercar, a secret base, and a kidnapping that feels like it was pitched 5 minutes before shooting started. So buckle up, because this one does not ease you in, it floors it immediately. The movie opens with classic establishing shots of New York City, and then we cut straight to the President of the United States, played by Roy Schneider, talking with a general about the state of the world and his commitment to the American people. You know, very serious stuff, very presidential. He then steps out and delivers a big speech about government overspending, too much money wasted on frivolous projects, too many black budgets, too much defense spending. And while that speech keeps playing in the background, the movie smartly cross-cuts us over to Area 55, where calmly listening is Keith David.
There are several sacred things in this world that you don't ever mess with. One of them happens to be another man's fries.
The implication is pretty clear. Budget cuts are coming, defense money is getting slashed, and a lot of very shady people are about to get very upset. Once the speech wraps up, we jump across the country to Los Angeles, where we're suddenly inside a prison bus packed with orange jumpsuit convicts. Outside a yellow Camaro idles nearby, and inside that car a man and a woman, played by Angie Everhart.
You know what helped me is being pretty much in the right place at the right time.
Sit and watch the bus through binoculars like they're bird watching, except the birds are felons. When they spot the bus, they call back to Keith David at Area 55 and deliver an absolutely ridiculous code phrase.
Chickens in the coop.
She hangs up immediately, like that phrase means anything to anyone. Inside the bus, one of the prisoners starts causing a scene, arguing loudly with the guards, and then he turns and starts yelling at the guy beside him. That guy is Michael Madsen.
Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite? What was that?
And yes, even in a prison bus, Michael Madsen looks like someone you probably shouldn't sit next to. As the bus rolls through an intersection, two cars suddenly slam into it from opposite sides, spinning it sideways. And before anyone can even process that, a full-size big rig truck comes flying around the corner at high speed and plows directly into the side of the bus, flipping it over and setting off a small explosion. PM entertainment sure does not ease you into these movies. Cars screech to a stop, armed goons pile out, and the yellow Camaro pulls up again. The man and the woman climb into the wrecked bus, find Madsen, and immediately start calling him Evel Knievel, even though that is not his name. It's not even close, but they're committed to it. She tells him he's coming with them. Madsen asks about the other prisoners, and the guy responds is basically, "Nah, they're criminals," before casually shooting one of them. Nice guy. The cops arrive, a full shootout breaks out, and the man and Angie force Madsen into the Camaro at gunpoint. But while they're busy firing at the police, Madsen notices one tiny detail they forgot. The keys are still in the ignition. He jumps into the driver's seat, throws it in reverse, and peels out like he's late for work. The kidnappers hop into one of the goons' cars and give chase. Meanwhile, the big rig from earlier casually turns around and charges straight into the police barricade at full speed, smashing through it in peak PM entertainment fashion. In the car chase, the man and Angie argue non-stop about how they just let their prize escape, and that's when we finally learn the reason they broke him out in the first place. Madsen is a stunt driver. They need him behind the wheel. But unfortunately for them, they can't keep up. They lose him almost immediately. In the yellow Camaro, Madsen finally relaxes. He finds a cigarette, lights it, takes a breath, and right on cue, a cop car cruises past. It spots him, flips around, and calls for backup. Seconds later, Madsen has half the LAPD on his tail. The man and Angie spot him again, now leading a full police parade, and they are not happy. The arguing escalates to a point where it genuinely feels like these two might actually be married. What follows is an extended glorious city chase. Cop cars smash into traffic, launch over obstacles, and explode with reckless enthusiasm. At one intersection, a woman is pushing a stroller across the street. Madsen slams the brakes, slides the car sideways, and parks directly in front of her, shielding her from the incoming cop cars like some kind of reluctant action movie saint. Once she's safe, he's gone again, cop still in tow. The chase continues through back alleys, side streets, residential neighborhoods, and downtown roads. Corners are power slid, construction warnings are ignored, and Madsen hits a massive jump over a truck and absolutely sticks the landing. The cop cars behind him, not so lucky. We watch the wreckage pile up as Madsen calmly drives away. Mission accomplished. Cigarette probably still burning. Back at the crashed prison bus, a pair of detectives are on the scene. The woman detective has a list of 13 inmates who escaped during the chaos and confidently says it should be easy to track them all down. Her partner suggests splitting the list with the other detectives so they can cover more ground, and then immediately makes a joke about how they'll take the sixth half.
That's just dumb.
Yes, that joke stays in the movie. And no, it doesn't get any better with time. Cut to the mandatory PM entertainment strip club scene, and right away we see a guy getting a little too friendly with one of the dancers. He's promptly tossed out onto the street before we even get to see anything, which honestly might be a PM first. They didn't tell us this guy's a lowlife, they showed us. As the guy stumbles away from the club, Madsen casually pops out of nowhere, calls him by name, Bella, and asks him for help, which raises several questions. How did Madsen know Bella would be at this specific strip club? How did he know that Bella would get kicked out? How did he know Bella would be loitering out back at that exact moment? Or is Bella always this much of a degenerate? Anyway, back at Bella's place, Madsen asks for help with his chains and then sits down on the bed. And I guess there's my answer from earlier. Yes, he is that much of a degenerate. And then Madsen grabs the bolt cutters that are leaning against Bella's nightstand. And, I don't even want to know.
Those are for safety, wise guy. Some woman locked me to the bed one night for 6 hours. Had to call in the neighbors to help me. It's embarrassing as hell. They think I'm a fucking pervert.
Bella stops him, tells him not to ruin the cuffs, and says he can just pick them instead. In the next room, Madsen notices some beakers and asks if Don is still experimenting with racing fuel, like back when they worked together in the stunt car business. And yes, he is.
Right here in this little apartment?
What could possibly go wrong? While Bella works on the cuffs, Madsen asks about his wife, and Bella gives a vague non-answer. Madsen asks if he knows who tried to kidnap him. Bella again says no. When asked what he's going to do next, Madsen says he plans to turn himself in, and honestly, that tracks. We just watched him stop to save a woman and a stroller during the police chase. This guy's clearly not evil. I'm guessing his crime was something like defending his wife and accidentally killed someone. Before turning himself in though, Madsen wants to see his wife one last time. Bella tells him to ditch the orange jumpsuit and change into something else. Meanwhile, back with the detectives, Michael Madsen is the next person on their list, and they say he was a former stunt car driver who completely destroyed his career after getting busted with an 18-year-old girl carrying a purse full of cocaine. The cops head to Madsen's last known address, and guess who is currently unlocking the door at that exact location? Of course, it's Madsen. Inside, he sees his wife sitting on the couch, but as he steps closer, a gun emerges from the darkness. It's the same man and woman who tried to kidnap him earlier. Angie makes a comment about how predictable men are, and then the cops knock at the door. Perfect timing. They hide Madsen, force his wife to answer the door, and the officers introduce themselves as Officer Smoke and Officer Green. His wife even tries to send them away, pointing out they can't come in without a warrant. Bad news, they've got one. They step inside, and without hesitation, the male kidnapper opens fire, killing both officers about 30 seconds after we learn their names.
In the arms of the angel.
Back at the police station, the assumption is immediate and obvious. Michael Madsen killed the cops, and now things are officially very bad. Inside the kidnapper's car, Madsen and his wife Nadia are crammed into the back seat. He quickly explains to his wife that he didn't even know the girl, he was just giving her a ride. He had no idea what was in her purse.
You sure about that?
The car pulls into Area 55, where Madsen is introduced to an extremely enthusiastic David Keith.
What the hell?
Sorry, Keith David, who immediately tells him he's followed his entire career, which is already unsettling. Keith David orders the kidnappers to take Nadia to another room and keep her comfortable, then invites Madsen to come with him to play a game.
Do you want to play a game?
And this game is something else. Keith David has a full-scale model of the city, complete with remote-control cars, and he wants to play cops and robbers. He even warns Madsen about booby traps, and then immediately crashes the car himself. Where was these booby traps? Professional operation. That's when Keith David finally explains why Madsen is here. They're going to rob a bank, and they want him to drive the getaway car. Which raises a very important question. Isn't this supposed to be a government agency? Madsen refuses, and Keith David calmly reminds him that they have his wife, and they will absolutely kill her if he doesn't cooperate. No hesitation, no bluffing. Man, Area 55 does not mess around. And honestly, I don't even want to know what happens in Area 56. Keith David allows Madsen to see Nadia again, and Madsen asks to speak with her alone and politely requests something for her to wear. He reassures her that everything is going to be okay. Nadia immediately starts arguing with Madsen, accusing him of being involved in whatever this is. He tries to explain, all while Keith David watches the entire conversation on a monitor like a proud supervillain. Keith David then takes a phone call from his employer. He argues about the job, insists it will be completed, and once the call ends, he turns his attention to Angie. He's furious that she and her partner killed the cops back at Madsen's house. Too much heat. His solution? He orders Angie to kill her partner. She pleads. They've been partners for years. Doesn't matter. Keith David does not care. Cut to the president on board what appears to be a small jet, which is confusing because I thought he flew on Air Force One. Hell, they even made a whole movie about that.
Get off my plane.
The president is talking to his aides about budget cuts and how people are going to be upset, or at least that seems to be the point. The movie is very vague about his actual plan. Back at Area 55, we head into an underground garage where the getaway vehicle is revealed. It's a van. Bold choice. Parked next to it is a Corvette, and Madsen immediately tells Keith David the van is too slow. He proposes stripping parts off the Corvette, which of course is Keith David's personal car. Keith David hesitates, then reluctantly tosses him the keys. Upstairs, Keith David and his crew are reviewing the bank heist plans using some slick late 90s CGI animations. And sitting right there in the room is Matthias Hues.
I'm coming, peace.
Yes, that Matthias Hues. Finally, Keith David has Nadia brought in again. He sits her down and shows her a monitor that tracks everything with the van, thanks to a sensor installed inside it. Because of course there is. And now the plane is officially in motion. Madsen is parked out front of the bank, sitting in the van, waiting for the heist to wrap up, when a homeless guy starts washing the windshield. And it's everybody's favorite homeless guy, Buck Flower.
Watch where you're going! Crazy, drunk pedestrian!
God bless PM Entertainment. Eventually the gang bursts out of the bank with security guards in pursuit. Guns blazing. Oh no, Matthias is already shot. We don't even get a warm-up kick from him. Sirens are closing in fast as the gang drags the wounded Matthias into the van, and Madsen floors it. This is the entire reason they hired him. So this is either about to be an all-time chase, or he's so good that it's over in 30 seconds. Back at Area 55, Keith David calmly tells Nadia that everything is proceeding exactly as planned. They needed to see just how good a driver Madsen really is. Out on the streets, Madsen tears through downtown traffic with the gang rattling around in the back. Matthias is slowly bleeding out, which would be a real shame if he dies before we get to see him even throw one punch. Spoiler, shame incoming. The cops finally get close enough to start ramming the van. Madsen counters by slamming his brakes, sending a police car flipping over a line of parked cars. The chase keeps going. The cops catch back up and try the same move again, and again, Madsen reverses the hit, this time launching a cop car straight into a camper truck in a massive fireball. I always love this part of reluctant hero movies, where our quote-unquote good guy casually kills dozens of innocent cops just doing their jobs, and then everyone just moves on. Anyway, more cops crash, more sparks, more sliding corners. When Madsen pulls a U-turn, a cop tries to follow, and Madsen slams the van sideways into the cruiser, pushing it down the road in a shower of sparks from exposed wheel rims. It looks great. They finally smashed into some parked cars, and Madsen backs up, takes off, and that was the last cop car. They're in the clear. The gang tells Madsen to pull over just ahead. He stops, and suddenly a trapdoor opens in the floor of the van, lining up perfectly with a manhole cover in the road. One by one, the gang drops straight into the sewer, leaving Madsen behind. Down below, Matthias is in rough shape. The male kidnapper insults him and suggests they just leave him there, which is weird because I thought Angie was ordered to kill that guy. Instead, he walks over and shoots Matthias dead. R.I.P. Matthias Hues. Not a single kick or punch thrown. Absolute waste. Even the other goon looks upset about it. Honestly, same. That's when Angie finally has enough and shoots him. Back at the police station, we learn the cops now officially believe Madsen was the getaway driver, and more units are rolling. Madsen leads them straight into a warehouse that longtime channel fans might recognize. Yes, the same warehouse from Recoil with Gary Daniels. Rewind episode available on the channel. Just saying. Inside, Madsen smashes through vegetable crates, weaving through the space until his path is blocked by police cars. He stops, then punches it straight out the side of the warehouse, drives along a truck trailer, and launches off the end. Pure PM entertainment glory. Outside, he tears into a dirt lot and starts doing donuts, kicking up a massive dust cloud, basically a ninja smoke bomb, but with horsepower. The cops surround the van, the dust settles, they open the doors, Madsen is gone. Back at Area 55, Keith David and Angie start to panic. Madsen hasn't shown up yet, he hasn't even called. Keith David shrugs it off, says even if Madsen goes to the cops, what's he really gonna say? Then he asks where her partner is. Angie tells him she left him in the sewer. Keith David nods. Good place to leave Madsen when the job is over. Wait. When the job is over? You already robbed the bank. You escaped. Isn't that the job? It feels a little late in the movie to suddenly reveal there's another mission. And sure enough, Madsen somehow gets picked up by one of the remaining goons and brought back to Area 55. Keith David tells him he still can't leave with his wife. The job isn't finished. There's one more step. And that step? Kidnap the president. Okay. That explains why we kept cutting back to the president earlier. But with less than 30 minutes left in this movie, this plan better be quick. Madsen and Keith David argue in his office. Keith David launches into a monologue about money, power, and U.S. foreign policy, about how the president is a cash cow and everyone will want him. You know, money is power. Madsen tells him flat out that once this is done, Keith David will kill him and Nadia anyway, so why not just do it now? Keith David calmly offers him $3 million if he finishes the job. Madsen agrees, but demands half up front, which makes absolutely no sense if he thinks he's going to get killed afterward anyway. But sure, movie logic. Madsen leaves to see Nadia, while Keith David creepily watches them on a monitor. Then Keith David gets a call. It's the general, the same one from the opening scene. And here's the twist. The general doesn't want the president kidnapped, he wants him dead. So now the question becomes, is Keith David getting paid to assassinate the president and planning to sell him to the highest bidder? Because if so, that's some next level villain hustle. At a hotel, we see the president and his team sneaking out the back through the kitchen, and waiting nearby is Madsen in, is that an Acura NSX? Oh hell yeah.
This is an Acura NSX, and it's an absolute automotive icon.
The presidential motorcade rolls through the city with full helicopter support when suddenly 3 massive transport trucks start moving into position. A motorcycle cop tries to block the street. It does not go well for him. 2 of the trucks blast straight through, detonating one of the motorcade vehicles in a fiery explosion, while the third slams into the back of the presidential limo, knocking it sideways. The limo peels off away from the chaos, and Madsen pulls out right behind it. Then another truck swings its trailer sideways and literally shears the roof off a couple police cars on the presidential limo. That is a fantastic stunt. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. Goons pour out of the truck and start lighting up the remaining cops and Secret Service as Madsen rolls in with the NSX like he's late for a meeting. Very cool. The helicopters arrive overhead and the goons shove the president into the NSX and Madsen takes off. Another truck rolls in, a tarp gets yanked back, and of course, there's a giant mounted machine gun underneath. It opens fire on one of the helicopters, blowing it out of the sky and sending it crashing down onto a cop car in the street. Awesome. The remaining helicopters start strafing the goons, but now the machine gun switches to tracer rounds and absolutely shreds it. The helicopter drops in a ball of fire. Man, PM Entertainment never disappoints. Madsen and the president tear through the city with cops in pursuit, and after a while Madsen finally explains that he's actually trying to save the president's life and that they're heading to a friend's house, so obviously Bella the degenerate. More high-speed driving, and this is where the downside of using an expensive hero car shows up. They really can't damage it. It's fast, it corners well, but the cop cars aren't exactly struggling to keep up in heavy traffic, so it's more stylish than suspenseful. Back at Area 55, Keith David watches his screen, showing Madsen's position and another marked location on the map. He smiles and says they're right on time. And then Madsen hits the checkpoint, triggering the big set piece of the movie. Keith David's response?
Now tell me that doesn't give you a hard on.
Madsen reaches the exchange point where he's supposed to hand over the president. A goon grabs the president and stuffs him into the trunk of another car. That's when Madsen pulls his gun and forces the goon into the NSX. Keith David watches this happen on his monitor and realizes Madsen just flipped sides. He immediately sends Nadia back to her cell. Madsen walks back to the goon's car, pauses, considering pulling the president out of the trunk, then decides against it and takes off. He takes the president straight to Bella the degenerate's place. Madsen plot dumps the whole plan on the president, explaining that he needs a couple of hours to rescue Nadia from Area 55, and the only way to do it is to hide the president and use him as leverage. Right on cue, the Secret Service bursts in. The president tells him to stand down, then he gives Madsen 2 agents and 2 hours before he handles Area 55 his own way. By his own way, he means bombs.
I'm gonna bomb the shit out of them. It's true.
Bella comes along for the ride, because of course he does. And they drive toward Area 55. And then we get the plan. Bella will wear a bag over his head and pretend to be the president. When Madsen says, "Cherry Coke," Bella opens fire.
I like your plan, except it sucks.
The 2 Secret Service agents are hiding in the trunk, and I'm fully convinced Bella is not surviving this. At the gate, a guard asks to see the president. Madsen says he can have a Cherry Coke instead. Bella shoots him with a silenced weapon. The Secret Service agents pop out and quietly drop the other guards, and then the car rolls inside. After winding through the tunnels, the alarm gets triggered and they go in on foot, blasting goons along the way. Madsen and Bella split off to find Nadia while the Secret Service agents run wild, mowing down guards like they're in a Bond villain lair. Eventually, one agent gets killed, and then shortly after that, Keith David kills the other one. Madsen finally reaches Nadia, but Angie has her at gunpoint, using her as a human shield, as Bella stands watching the doorway. That's when Angie suddenly decides just to shoot Bella, gives Madsen the opening he needs, and he knocks her out cold. Madsen and Nadia help Bella to his feet and start escaping the base, and for a moment, it looks like Bella might actually survive. As they move down a long hallway, Keith David and two goons step out behind them. All of a sudden, Bella charges forward, firing wildly, killing both goons before Keith David guns him down. And honestly, that feels like the Bella redemption arc. Look at that, an actual character journey. While Keith David is busy shooting Bella, Madsen doesn't hesitate for a second. He opens fire with two guns and drops Keith David instantly. No monologue, no "we're not so different, you and I," no world domination speech, just bang, dead. Beautiful. Madsen is wounded, but Nadia helps him escape. He's loaded into an ambulance, and the president climbs in with him. The president tells him he'll wipe the rest of his sentence and hands over the bag of money Keith David promised. All is forgiven. Nadia tells him she loves him. They kiss. Cut to the credits. And that's Executive Target. Another absolute PM banger. Big explosions, solid car chases, and a very cool NSX doing what it was born to do. It's not perfect. The way they completely waste Matthias Hues is honestly a crime.
That's
And the fact that we never find out what happens to the general who hired Keith David to kill the president is still a pretty massive loose end. Still, great cast, wild action, peak PM entertainment. If you enjoyed this rewind, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. I want to know what you think the general's fate was, and whether Matthias deserved better in this one. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Hold up. Wait.
Have you seen her? Have you spoke to her?
Not since the last time I banged her.
Is that supposed to be funny? Talking about my wife.
I know.
The money and go back and help them.
We're all gonna die because of that fat Fabio-looking fuck. Come on!
Not too bad, Mr. Goodwrench. Not too original, but not too bad.
Don't you have anything else to do besides bug me?
I'd do your wife, but she's taking a nap. Don't get cocky, Nicky boy. Right now, you're our meal ticket. Trust me, your days are numbered. Thanksgiving's on its way.
Get the fuck out of here.
Turkey.